Welcome to today's live feed. I appreciate you being here. I'm doing two separate feeds just to test out whether whether YouTube likes or doesn't like it when Rumble Studio pushes the live feed to YouTube. We'll see. It's just an informal little test that I'm doing here. So I'm on Rumble with their studio, but I'm also on YouTube because I think they would probably favor it coming from YouTube. If I had if I owned YouTube, I wouldn't want Rumble Studio pushing its live feed and people getting all familiar and comfortable with the live feed coming out of Rumble Studio. But that's just me. So we'll see. Time will tell. Today's live feed, I want to talk to you. We're going to share some stuff about the eclipse. I've got some governments are doing some interesting things on the eclipse, around the eclipse, and if you're into the science and like science, you might be into this stuff. Mostly I'm just sketched out about what governments do, but that's just me. I've got a little PTSD coming out of COVID times. Before we get into it, if you like this video, leave me a thumbs up. I would super appreciate it. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, excuse me, on my YouTube channel and also on my other social media at GMarkPhillips. I share different things in different places, talking about the human experience, talking about what governments are up to, the good and the bad and the ugly, all of it. So I got an article here from the debrief.org titled NASA and CERN are gearing up for tests during this month's solar eclipse. CERN sketches me out regardless, right? I mean, again, I can't really follow the science. I think about all the science the government has done, and one of the biggest things that comes to my mind was when they, were setting off nuclear bombs in the atmosphere in, I think they did something over Greenland or Iceland, and then also in the Pacific Ocean, in the sea, in the some islands down there. I mean, basically tropical paradise, and here they are popping off nuclear bombs. It's all for our safety, right? So this says when NASA launches a rocket during the full eclipse and CERN activates its particle accelerator, we'll find out on April 8th. This is a once in a generation celestial phenomenon. That's true. Let's see what NASA's going to do. I've heard they're going to do something with a sound, a rocket to measure the sound. So let's see here what they're going to do. They want to study the Earth's upper atmosphere and how it's affected when sunlight momentarily dims over a portion of the planet. Following the science, checking out the science. Because I heard they were going to launch 3 rockets. I'm like, what are they doing? When you first hear something like that, you think, oh boy, what are they doing? But it is a science experiment. This person said, this quote is, it's an electrified region that reflects and refracts radio signals and also impacts satellite communications as the signals pass through, according to this gentleman, the team leader at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida. Understanding the ionosphere and developing models to help us predict disturbances is crucial to making sure our increasingly communication-dependent world operates smoothly. So they're checking out some things during this solar eclipse, but I'm more interested in what CERN is up to. CERN sketches me out. CERN sketches me out. I've got some videos in the work about what CERN, their symbology that is surrounding that CERN. Their logo is sketchy. They sketch me out quite a bit, to be quite honest. So what CERN is doing here is, since the conclusion of its Run 3 operations last October, the CERN Collider particle accelerator is also revving up to smash protons again, as its current 2024 operations will also coincide with this year's total eclipse. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. These experiments will aim to find evidence of invisible particles that may offer insights into the hidden secrets of the universe, particularly dark matter. it's probably because I'm not a scientist and I can't follow that science, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is something we need to be doing. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Um, I don't know what the ramifications are to life on planet Earth of them doing this. I'd probably need to educate myself more. But again, I just get a little sketched out when governments start to do funny things. So this says, although many have speculated about the timing of the forthcoming CERN experiment, Dr. Clara Nellist, a particle physicist with CERN, says the fact that the collider's next round of tests happened to coincide with the date of the eclipse is just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. Then she says, it's the regular running that starts on April the 8th. Okay, just a coincidence. No, nothing to see here. The experiment will recreate conditions post Big Bang by accelerating protons in a 17-mile tunnel. The experiment that will occur during the eclipse is part of CERN's normal periodic LHC operation, which requires careful planning. April 8th will be a busy day for scientists around the world, and especially for solar eclipse enthusiasts, providing an exceptional opportunity to glean new insights about a large phenomena, or about a range of phenomena of interest to scientists. So, I don't know. It's interesting to me what they're up to. Happy birthday. I haven't seen you in a while. Happy birthday to you. It's not my birthday, but thank you. Anyways, thanks for the sentiment. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I wanted to share with you. Just some brief information on NASA and CERN. I'm going to go check it out. I remember what was it? I don't know how many years ago was the last solar eclipse. It was an eerie feeling. There was an eerie sense about it, and that solar eclipse, more of it came over my area. I think we're only going to get in my area like 40%, 30%. I don't know. I know people who are traveling to the other areas where it's going to be full, but what I noticed during the last solar eclipse was, and maybe you realize this too, it definitely had an eerie feeling to it. I mean, it's almost like birds stopped singing, bugs stopped chirping or stopped making their noises, and the whole like vibe of the area got eerie, and that darkness kind of, like a weird darkness, right? A weird darkness kind of came over. I don't know if that's, what people are going to experience this time. Again, it's a little bit different vibe, but I definitely want to go check it out. It's a weird time in the world right now. You got ships randomly floating into things. I saw a video the other day of someone was filming as they were going over some huge bridge, like maybe San Francisco. It was not that bridge, but it was a huge suspension bridge, right? Cable suspension bridge, huge. And they had a cargo ship coming off the side, and they were like, oh shit, unlocking a new fear right now, because you don't know whether that ship's going to accidentally float into your freaking post that's holding up the pylon that's holding up the bridge. Anything could go down in 2024. It's just so weird right now in the world. That's why all these things that these governments are doing, it's like, oh, it's just a random occurrence. It's just it's just a random happenstance. Okay, everything is so sketchy right now. You kind of, and I don't even watch the news. I don't know. I can imagine it's much worse on the news. What did I turn on the other day? I turned on Fox News, and Jesse Waters was talking about all of the frivolous spending that our government does in America. And I thought to myself, why are you telling us this now? Because that agitates people, that makes them anxious, that creates stress in people's mind. It certainly did for me. I was pissed off because I'm thinking to myself, we don't need any more frivolous spending things on silly experiments, or giving, I'm all for artists making money, but giving them, hundreds of thousands of dollars to paint a picture for a sidewalk or something. It's BS like that the governments are doing right now, when we're not in a position, like America's not in a position to spend that frivolous money. Like, we have serious problems, right? 33 trillion in debt, a whole bunch of social and educational and financial problems in our world that Americans are facing, and you have your government still in spend mode, like just writing checks that they can't cash, right? That it's I'm surprised we're still even afloat, to be quite honest. Um, it's sketchy out there right now, and they seem to be unresponsive, and I also see why historically people have revolted in when their government gets unresponsive and like, hey, we don't want you to be spending this money that we don't have on silly things. We want you to do these things, or we want you to, one of the big ones is, it's my understanding Israel has health care for their people. We don't have that here. And so we're sending them billions of dollars. Maybe we should do something here for Americans first, and then think about sending money over there. Just a random thought, it couldn't hurt. We send so much money overseas, and some people believe that's got to stop, and we got to pull it all back. I think we got to pull it all back, but of course we can't pull it all back because we need to sustain those relationships overseas, even though they're damaging us. We need to sustain those in order to maintain our global presence so we can continue the petrodollar and continue global dominance until the end, when it just collapses. It's a house of cards as it is. And you look back at other empires and you're like, oh yeah, they collapsed because they grew too much. They spread out too much. And they're like, oh, we can't we're so expanded that the core of our country is falling apart. You have mental health problems, you have education problems, kids. I don't know how kids are going to compete in the global economy with the BS that our education system is teaching them. They don't seem to be teaching them the important things. I know in China they're probably not teaching kids, about the silly topics they're teaching them in America. Who knows what the future generations are going to be like? I don't know what it's going to be, but you got systemic problems at the core, and you got your government doing all sorts of silly things that are just totally oblivious. It's almost like, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about this, you take it with a grain of salt, it's almost like there are enemy is behind the gates, and the enemy is kind of saying, oh yeah, we're just going to subtly subvert you. Charlotte Iserby talks about this a lot too, and she has some amazing interviews. She's one of the people that one of those interviews is included in the Great Awakening Guide at greatawakeningguide.com. And she talks about this idea that even since the 70s, this group, the people that are trying to destroy America, the people that do want a new world order, they've been subverting culture. They've been subverting education. It's a deliberate thing that they're doing to the kids in the education system. And when you listen to people who have studied it deeply, she came out of government, right? She wrote the book, was it Dumbing Us Down or Dumbing Down America? I get her and John Taylor Gatto mixed up because they both talk about this. He's a fantastic guy to follow as well. Talk about the education system. You get those kids and those minds, and you warp and twist them, and you turn them upside down, and you basically you will destroy a society, right? Because those children grow up and then they just have no basis, and if they can't unravel the mess that the education system excuse me, put their minds in, you got a real problem on your hands. And that is why, in a very real way, I'm looking around the world going, okay, where am I going to go to? Because America, I don't see positive things in our future unless we can turn it around, unless enough people are waking up to the bullshit. These parents hand their kids over to the education system, and I don't think they know what the kids are learning, right? I don't think they're aware of just how detrimental. 2020 gave parents a pretty good idea of what their kids were learning, and you saw a lot of parents going to school board meetings saying, hey, what's up? My kid, it doesn't need to be learning this. Teach them, important things so they compete on a global scale in the economy. But what happened there is, again, what Charlotte Iserby has been talking about, what John Taylor Gatto has been talking about for decades, for decades. It's the result. And this is why people are waking up, because they're finally realizing sometimes you don't solve a problem until it gets so bad, so in your face that it's like, oh shit, I guess I got to solve this problem, right? Till you hit rock bottom, and then you're like, oh, okay, I guess I got to change. Parents are looking at homeschooling. They're looking at unschooling, which I do want to do a deep dive into unschooling, and put a video out there and talk about that. That would be something that I'm interested in. But they're looking at unschooling. They're looking at classical Christian education. They see the problem with the current situation and the trajectory that we're going on, right? And then you look back and you see, and I think, was it Obama that was big on critical or core? Who pushed core, Common Core? I know that the Bushes had their whole thing with I forget what the Bush had his whole thing with, no child left behind, all that stuff. They all want to get them in school early as possible so they can start that, I call it indoctrination. They can start that indoctrination process. They want to get them in school as quick as possible, so they can get those kids and teach them what they want. And I just, when I talk to a younger person, even in the late 20s or early 30s, thank you, I appreciate you. When I talk to a younger person, I appreciate that, in their early 30s, and they still, and they're under the belief that, oh yeah, I'm going to listen to the gov and I'm going to do all these things and I'm going to trust them and they're doing the best they can, when myself and many people have seen over the last 3 or 4 years that no, they're not doing the best they can, right? The things that they do, look at the ramifications of what happened to children in the education system by pulling them out, and by, they fell far behind in subjects. They had social issues that many of them are experienced higher degrees of mental health issues and or the big S, thoughts of the big S. Teenage girls are affected quite a bit as well. You can't make a mistake that bad. You can't get it that wrong that bad and expect and then to also say, well, they're doing the best they can. Like with friends like that, who needs enemies? You don't need an enemy if you have a friend like that. But many people are, looking into these alternate forms of education, and it's a thing, right? I mean, it's a thing. I know that when I've seen studies on homeschoolers, my understanding is they score far higher than kids that come through the classical or the traditional education system, public education system. And that doesn't surprise me after I see some of the BS that's going on in the world right now. So, who knows? Well, that's what I wanted to share with you. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thanks for checking in on Rumble. I appreciate you. I'm new streaming on Rumble live recently, and I was a little upset when Rumble, well, it was YouTube that did it. YouTube detached their sync feature and kind of fritzed with a lot of people that were syncing from YouTube to Rumble. How's it going? Hello. But now I'm getting back into Rumble, and I've got catching up to do because I want to put a little bit more love into the Rumble platform, just to diversify out a little bit. You never know. YouTube sometimes sketches me out. I saw too many channels get nixed and people lose the platform, and I'm like, oh man. So I diversified quite a bit onto Rumble and also Odyssey. But I'm trying to do more live streaming using that Rumble Studio. So thank you for checking out this video. Thanks for your comments about Jesus. I appreciate that always. And thanks for your other comments. Until next time, I wish you guys all the best to health, wealth, and success. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.